All right, guys, it is once again time for me to do another monthly wrap up, and I'm upset because I'm actually behind in my monthly reading goals and I need time to slow the heck down. I needed to slow down so I can catch up. I need to catch up, but it's fine. It's fine. I actually plan on doing like a reading challenge to like read a book a day for the month of July, just for 21 days, not the whole month. Let's calm the heck down. 21 days is still a lot of days, so I'm hoping I can stick to it, but that is not why we're here. We are here to talk about the books that I read for June, so let's get into it. All right, so first up, I want to talk about The Rebel and the Final Blood War. This was just a continuation of the series that I started in the month of May. So I'm not really going to talk about the plot for this book because it's just a storyline continuation from the first two books that I was reading in the month of May. So if you want to know the general storyline, you can go back to my video from May, my wrap up, where I talk about the plot line from the first book. But generally, I did not like the final book. This is the third book in this trilogy, and I didn't love how everything got wrapped up in this book. I was really bored for the majority of this book. There wasn't a lot of action, and I just didn't like it. I did not like a lot of this book. There was a lot of character deaths in this book that I just felt like was a lot of throwaway. I didn't feel like the author put a lot of thought into this book. I felt like we were just throwing out characters' deaths just willy-nilly. Like, I know that there's like a war that's going on in this book, and yes, characters die, but I felt like we were just killing characters off just to kill them. Just to kill them. And I didn't even feel close to any of these characters by this point, and by this point, I should feel something for these characters. So I wasn't having a good time. I rated this book 2.5 stars. I honestly don't know why I even continued with the series because the first book I didn't really love. Second book was better, and I was hoping beyond hope that this book would have been worth it for me to not DNF the series. But no. I should have just DNF'd. And I'm really salty with myself, honestly. But we live and we learn. We live and we learn. Will I learn? Probably not. Probably not. But that's my cross to bear, not yours. All right, so next let's get into Hunt the Villain by Rena Kent. Now, this is like a dark mafia romance. So we're following these two guys who are on like opposing mafia sides, and one of them is obsessed with the other one. So they came together as kids. They went to this like camp to kind of form an alliance, and there was an attack on this camp, and now neither side really trusts the other. But since this like kind of camp happened, the other one has been obsessed with the other, and it's been him and no one else. Like he's had other people, he's tried to get over this other guy, but he can't. He literally cannot, and he's obsessed. And you know what? I love a man obsessed. So yeah, he's been in love with this man since they were kids, and now he wants him. He's been on a mission to basically have him. And that is the plot. That is essentially the plot of the book. And I loved this book because of how far this boy will go to get this other man. I loved it. He is psychotic. He is psychotic, and it was absolutely fantastic. There is a lot of trauma. This book is hefty on the trauma. There is a lot of spice, and there's one thing I hate about a spicy book, which I love a spicy book. Don't get me wrong, I love spice, but one thing that always grinds my gears when it comes to a spicy book is when there's back-to-back spice. I can't stand it, actually. I love when there's spice, but if it's like ongoing, I'm like, okay, okay, we get it, we get it, we get it. Like, I don't need back to back chapters of spice, and unfortunately, that does happen in this book. So that's where, like, I knock off some stars. But other than that, I was locked in. It does get really intense because there are a lot of factors since they are on opposing sides. The one that is obsessed, he does come from a mafia family that isn't as accepting of, romances. So, they are from the Stone Age. From the Stone Age. They are not allies of the LGBTQIA community, if you know what I mean. So it gets a little messy. It gets a little messy. So it had me in a chokehold, to say the least. So I gave this book 4.5 stars. It was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. So yeah, it was great. All right, so the next book is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Now, this book, I would like to give you the plot. Let me try to find it. It's difficult. It's difficult because I don't think there was a plot. I don't think there was a plot to this book. We follow three women. We follow three women through time. Mm-hmm. That's the best I got. That is the best I got. We follow three women through time, and yes, their times do connect. Their timelines do essentially connect, but the reasonings behind everything, I don't know their purpose. The ending is semi anti not even semi, it is anticlimactic. At the end I was like, what was the point? I I don't know. All of the characters by the end are very, well, not even by the end. Two of the characters are very unlikable. The main characters are very unlikable. The third one, she's just like, eh. I I think the history of it all is very fun and very interesting. I do like V.E. Schwab's writing style, but the plot, that's where you lose me. I don't know what the plot of the book is. I don't know what the point of all of it was, and I don't like the characters. So at the end of the day, why? Literally, why? I wanted to like this book so much. I mean, who doesn't love vampires? That's fun. And also, like, sapphic. Yeah, sapphic vampires. That's cool too. But I still need a reason why. I still need a reason why. I need a plot. I need a plot and a reason why. And this book isn't thin. And we like go back in time. Like we're in, like, let's see, what time frame do we start in? Like, we start pretty far back in time. Like, it's pretty far. Like 1521, that's pretty far in time, but I find that interesting, but I just don't know what the point of it all was. I wish I did. I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I just don't know if that was good enough. I think I gave that just because I was like a fun time to like learn everything. I enjoyed the ride, but I just don't know if it was enough. Like, like, the journey was fun, but the destination is still a good question mark. So I don't know if I should rate it lower. I think the 3.5 stars is being generous, in my opinion. So yeah, yeah. For how long it is, I don't think the ending was worth the journey. Yeah. Mm-mm. On the flip side, that does go back in time, that I think does it really well and kept my interest, has a plot, is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I love this one. We have a woman who is a journalist who is doing a story on a really famous actress who was really popular in the early days of cinema. And she tells her whole life story to this journalist, and it is a doozy because obviously Evelyn Hugo has 7 husbands, and that is kind of unheard of for women, at least back in those days, and it's really scandalous. So she gets the full rundown on who was Evelyn Hugo's true love of her life out of those 7 husbands, and it is quite the tale, and I was locked in from moment one. I loved the layout of the entire story, how we switch from past to present, and the connection between Evelyn Hugo and the journalist herself, and kind of the reflection between what the journalist is going through in her own life and all of that jazz. Loved the characters. I loved Evelyn Hugo herself. I saw some reviews where people are like, Evelyn Hugo is a villain. I didn't see that at all. I think she was just a victim of her own circumstances and trying to you know, build up with what she knew, because she started in when she was like 14, and trying to dive into the industry. And I myself have a film degree, and so getting into the nitty gritty of cinema back in those days, and I know how the actresses and the actors were treated, well, actresses specifically were treated in those days, and how they basically were treated just as a commodity and as essentially as things and not as actual people. And she had to be smart. She had to be smart. And I loved how Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote the cinema and how she wrote Evelyn Hugo. I didn't love the relationship, like the true love of Evelyn Hugo. I felt like the love of her life was very toxic. I felt like we were romanticizing a very toxic relationship, so didn't love that. But I did love her husband, Harry. I think everyone needs a Harry in their life. Oh my gosh, loved him. So yeah, this was a really enjoyable read. I thought it was pretty fast paced for what it was. Yeah, overall, thoroughly enjoyed this book. I did cry, needed some tissues. No one warned me. So thanks for that, guys. Gave this book 4.5 stars. I think it is definitely worth all of the hype. I'm kind of kicking myself for putting it off for so long. So that's on me. All right, so next up, I have The Neverlist and The King's List by Jade Presley. Now, this one follows a girl who is on the hunt for her sister who's been missing for about a year. And the last place her sister was at this ball where they select a girl who could be potentially the princess for these 4 princes of their kingdom. Now, this girl does not want that because it puts her in imminent danger. And so she goes to this ball just to look for her sister, but unfortunately gets selected as the potential princess for these princes. And, has to go through months of being with these princes to potentially be the next princess of the kingdom. So that is the plot of the book, and it was okay. The first book, you get a lot of telling, not showing writing. Yes, it's fast paced, but there is not a lot of forming connections with the princes. I feel like it's a lot of lust and not a lot of like love connections that get formed. Yeah, it's just, I don't feel the connections. I don't feel like I get very connected with the characters themselves. All of the connections feel very shallow, to be fair. And then all of the obstacles kind of get wrapped up pretty quickly. Yeah, it's fast paced, but just nothing, nothing of substance really happens. I don't really care for much of the characters, but I was like, you know what? Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. And the second book, nothing really happens. The same like issues that keep coming up in this one. Nothing really happens. We do get better with the writing, so there is a lot more showing than telling, which I did appreciate. But the problem is that the spice gets elevated in this book, tenfold. The girl, every interaction she has with the princes ends with spice, and I was exhausted. 75% of it, I was like, oh my gosh, will it ever end? But she got me. With the last 25%, I was like, oh, things are happening. Things started to actually happen, and I was like, okay, yeah, finally. And it ended in a cliffhanger that I was actually like, okay, maybe I'll continue it. And that's how she got me. But overall, I didn't feel connected with a lot of the characters still, and that's a problem. So I'm still up in the air of whether or not I want to continue the series. I think curiosity might push me to want to read the third one, but probably just the audiobook. I don't know if I want to actually purchase the third book. We'll see. But I gave both books 3.5 stars. They're okay. They're okay. Yeah. All right, so this next one, House of Rayne by Harley LaRue, very unexpected. I was on edge. This is a like gothic horror sapphic romance. Oh my gosh. My anxiety was through the roof. So we have this woman who's been jilted by her fiance, and so she decides she's gonna go on a little retreat for herself. Before that, she has a little one night stand with a woman in a bar. And lo and behold, the little B&B on this cute little isolated island is also owned by that same woman she had a little one night stand with. It's fine. It's fine. But they feel like a pull to each other. They feel a pull, and she feels really protective of her, which is good because this island is cracked. It's cracked. Things are happening, weird things left and right. This woman is seeing strange things, but she thinks it's all in her head. But it's not. It's weird things left and right. People are going missing. It's crazy. And I was literally on the edge of my seat. I was listening to the audiobook, and I had to stop what I was doing at points because I could not focus on anything else because things were happening in this book, and I just was like, oh my gosh. I could not breathe. I could not literally breathe because I was fearful. I was fearful that if I did, people would die. People would die. And it would be my fault. It would be my fault. I couldn't have that on my conscience. I could not. So yeah, this book was really fantastic. I don't know why people aren't talking about this book more. It was fan-freaking-tastic. I was literally on edge. I was on edge. I have no words. I have no words. I would say the spice in here was a little okay for me. It just wasn't my bag, but it could be someone else's. That's the only reason I didn't rate this as high as I could have, is because the spice wasn't my favorite. Wasn't my favorite. Also, the FMC, not the B&B owner, the other one that was jilted by her fiance, she could not, well, she did not have self-preservation skills to save her literal life. I was getting so annoyed, actually. So that's another reason. But I gave this book 4.5? 4.75 stars. Oh my gosh. It was so good. Literally, what are you guys doing not reading this book? What are you guys doing? Go read it. All right, so the next book that I read was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I think that's how they pronounced it. And if you live under a rock, you may not know what this book is about. And essentially, there is a alien that is eating up the sun and causing the sun's temperature to decrease. And because of that, the Earth is in danger of going into an early ice age. And Project Hail Mary is a ship or a mission that is set to avoid that. So it is the mission that is kind of trying to find a solution to get rid of the astrophage, which is the alien that is eating up the sun, and to avoid the early ice age of the Earth. Now, they're putting a team together, which includes Rylan Grace, yes, to get rid of the astrophage and avoid an early ice age. So that is the plot of Project Hail Mary, if you live under a rock, and have not watched the movie, which I have not watched the movie, so I would be included in that. And if you have not read the book, which until recently I hadn't read the book, so yeah, I would have been included in that. So there you go. So yeah, I hear the movie's great, and I wish I would have watched it. So, because I did not love the book, so it is really unfortunate. It's only because the book was so heavily like a problem-solving thing. I wish there was so much less like work around with a lot of science and math, and I get it, it's a sci-fi book, I get it, but being on a ship and just reading about them doing math and science and just problem solving, that might be someone's like cup of tea. It's not mine. It's not my bread and butter, all right? And so it just got really boring after a while of that. And then once the main character like gets along with like an alien life form, and we learn more about this alien life form, it's just like a lot of learning. And I really appreciate what the author is trying to do, or what the author did with like creating this new life and all of the language that goes into it, and all of like just like whole new life form. That's crazy. I put a lot of thought into it, and I really appreciate all that he did and all of that thought process that he put into it. But it was just a lot that I didn't care for. And yeah, I was just really bored for a lot of it. The only thing that really kept me going was like this budding friendship between the main character and this alien life form. That was the extent of it. But I can see how people would love this book. I can see it, but it was the whole going through the scientific process over and over again that was really harping on me. I didn't love science in school, so this was it was like one big science experiment, and I love that for everyone else. I don't love that for me. So I rated this book 3.75 stars. It just was not my jam, but I can see how it could be other people's jam. So if you love sci-fi, I implore you to give this book a go. It's just not for me. Not for me. Next up, I have The Way We Hate by Micah Lauren. This is a story about two stepbrothers, and they hate each other. They hate each other so much, and it really just follows their journey on them coming full circle from hating each other to needing each other to loving each other. That's essentially the story. And there is like a sexuality awakening and having to come to terms with your own sexual identity and all of that. Um, yeah, it's a story of healing and loss and all of that jazz. It is really a powerful story. There are a lot of triggers in this story, and it does touch on some really sensitive topics, for sure. So definitely check those triggers. I did really thoroughly enjoy this story. I do think that the author did a really good job with pulling back that curtain to show you all of the bad stuff, to really let you um, essentially get a deeper connection with these characters, because I don't think she could have glossed over some of those darker topics and not been able, like, give you the full story and not go deeper with those topics. I just don't think it would have been possible to be able to tell the same story without diving a little deeper to those sensitive topics. But I think it was a beautiful story. It is a little spicier, but it is still so good. The one of the brothers is like a doctor, and the other one is like a famous singer. Well, he's not a singer, he's a guitarist, but he does like write and he does sing occasionally, but he is like in a band, so it's like a rock star-ish like indie band. And Dr. Romance, and it was fun. It was a fun story to get into, and I know there's like a spin-off series as well that's incomplete. I did look into it, and I thought about getting into it, and I was like, ugh, I still have a hard time getting into incomplete series. I'm working on it. But I did thoroughly enjoy this story, so I gave it 4.25, yeah, 4.25 stars. So good, so worth the read, and yeah, really good. All right, next up I have The Feeling of Falling in Love by Mason Deaver. Now, this book follows a trans kid named Neil, and he has been having like a friends with benefits situation with his best friend, and he's having a hard time because his best friend has now fallen in love with him, and he's like, yikes. So in order to get his best friend to fall out of love with him, he has devised a plan to get his roommate to basically be his fake boyfriend, to fool his best friend to think he's already fallen in love with his roommate. So he's attending his brother's wedding with his roommate, and his best friend is planning on going because his best friend is his part of the whole wedding party. So they're gonna go to this wedding and fool everyone into thinking that his roommate is his boyfriend. Yeah, so that is the plot of the book. It was cute. There were a few issues that I had with this book. One of them being Neil is kind of insufferable in the beginning. He does get better, he does, but yeah, I have to give him slack because he is young. He is young, but he is a lot really entitled, like no empathy at all. Yeah, he's a lot. He does get better, but still, it's quite infuriating. Also, these chapters are egregiously long. Egregious. The way this book is laid out is by the day, and I feel like it could have been broken up a lot better, and that's just a me thing, but it's infuriating actually. But it's getting docked either way. So that's a me thing. It's frustrating. And then another thing that I really had a problem with is that the character Neil, he has a lot of problems with his family members, because they are, some of them, like the older ones, like his grandparents, are transphobic and they say some transphobic things, and like some members, like his mom, kind of like let it go, or like just let things like the comments that they say, let it slide, and things like don't really get wrapped up on those items. Like he confronts them about some of those things, and apologies do get made, but yeah, nothing really comes up of those. Like, it kind of frustrates me that some of those things just are expected to just be let go. Um, are we to just assume those things will be handled? I don't know. It kind of frustrated me that that doesn't really get acknowledged. So that's another thing that really frustrated me. So yeah. Overall, this book was like cute. This is a sweet book, but yeah, I gave this book 4 stars. Short and sweet, other than the whole chapter situation, but overall, this is a nice book. Yeah. All right, next up I have My Forever Girl by Laura Pavlov. Now this book follows a girl who is going to work for her best friend's company, and she's like an interior designer, and her best friend is a guy. And she's coming off of a bad breakup. So she asks her best friend if he could help her in the sexual department. So like a friends to benefits situation, because her bad breakup, her ex-man's, kind of insinuated that she was not great in that department. So she kind of feels like she needs more experience. So yeah, yeah, rude by the way. And I love this book. It was super cute. It was good. I was fearful because it's a friends to lovers, and with friends to lovers you kind of get a miscommunication trope just thrown in there. But with this one, they actually communicated, and I really appreciated that. My only problem with this book is that it was kind of drawn out. There wasn't a lot of conflict, which I love conflict. That might be my toxic trait, but I love conflict. And so there was not a lot of conflict because they're friends, you know? So it kind of felt a little drawn out in places, but there was really great banter. The side characters were really funny. I was kicking my feet. The MMC in here, he loves this FMC, 10 toes down, will literally do anything for her. So I loved that about this book and this MMC. Yeah, it was just a little drawn out, which was a little painful at points, but overall I really loved this book because it was just really cute. So I gave this book 4.25 stars. It's a good book. Definitely worth the read. Next up, I have Paper Rings by Brittany Nicole. Now, this book is a lot. So we have a girl who is a goalie who is now becoming a coach, and a man's who is her ex-best friend who is now becoming a player on the team, and it is a NHL official team. And they're just kind of navigating this working relationship, and that's essentially the plot of the book. Now, this book was a lot going in because literally the first chapter of the book, you're getting introduced to 15 characters, and I'm not even joking. It is literally like 15 characters. And then throughout the book, you're getting introduced to an abundance of characters, and I was overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed because you need to know all of these characters too. It's not like just cute little side characters that you can just forget. You need to know all of these characters' names and basically their backstories, because they will come up and you'll need to know who they are to be able to like place them. To be able to place them, to understand why they're important. I was overwhelmed with the amount of characters in this book, and I guess you would understand these characters if you read like the spin-offs of all of these books, because I assume because this is like one of the many, I guess, spin-offs of the series. But I feel like if this book, it can be read as a standalone, you shouldn't have to read all of the spin-offs to be able to read this standalone if you're marketing it as a standalone. Why? Why, oh, why do I need to know all of these freaking characters? There literally was like 30 characters, and I'm not even exaggerating. That's not hyperbole. There was 30 characters in this book. Oh my gosh. So many characters. Not only that, there was just so many questions I had in regards to some of the instances in this book for why there was a breakup in this book, the reason why they're getting back together, and there wasn't any questions for why the initial breakup happened. There was just a lot of questions I had. There was also a lot of cringe moments. There's a moment with some ice on a hand. I don't know why this was considered sexy, but I was getting the immense ick with this moment. If you've read this book, you know what moment I'm talking about. It icked me out so hard that I thought about putting down the book and just DNFing it in that moment, but I was like, I will persevere. It had me in a chokehold in a bad way. I don't know why I continued to read this book, but it had such good reviews that I was like, maybe it gets better. It did not get better. Yeah, I don't know why I kept going, actually. I gave this book 3.25 stars, and the more I talk about it, the more I think that's too high. In fact, in this moment, I think I'm going to rate it not 3.25 stars. I think I'm going to rate it 2.75 stars. In this moment, the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, I think it is worth 2.75 stars because it was not good. It was not good. It was not good. I did not enjoy myself, and it was actually painful. It was actually painful. So take that with what you will. I'm so sorry. Next up, I have Maurice, or shall I say Morris, which is what my narrator said, by E.M. Forster. And this book follows a man who goes through his life, it's just the journey of his life, trying to figure out his sexual identity, essentially, and what he thinks is right for him versus what society thinks is right for him. Yeah, and that is basically the premise of the book. Honestly, I really enjoyed this book. Going in, I didn't really know what to expect, especially because this book was written so long ago. It was written like early 1900s, and with those types of books, yeah, I expected to be kind of dull, a little droll, if you will. But I think this book was honestly written like ahead of its time. Especially with queer books, you always kind of expect, especially with books written so long ago, you expect it to be a little bit tragic. But this book was actually gave me a lot of hope, and it ended in triumph, and I loved this. So I have no notes. I have no notes. I loved every bit of this, just going through, his journey with him. Everything about this was fantastic, and getting to see his journey is a sight to behold, honestly. I have literally no notes. I gave this book 5 stars. It was so good. Yeah, I literally have no notes. I do want to watch the movie though, because I did learn that there was a movie that was made for this book in the 80s. However, it is a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, and this book is 200 pages, like a little over 200 pages. What? Why? Why is it over 200? I'm sorry, 2 hours? Wild. Will I watch it? Probably, but it'll take me a while. But I loved this book. So good. Literally so good. Next up, I have Don't Let Me Go by Kevin Christopher Snipes. Now, this book is so good. We have these 2 boys who fall in love, die, reincarnate, and do it all over again. So that is the premise of this book. Oh my gosh. I have no notes. It was so good. I did not know what to expect after reading, what was that book? Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven, I I had already been burned. I did not love that book. Um, but this book does reincarnation so good. I didn't feel overwhelmed with the amount of like past tidbits, like the little like increments of um, past flashbacks that we get in here. I thought it was perfectly balanced. I felt so connected, and I felt all of the chemistry between the two MMCs in this book in every past life and the present that we get. In the present lifetime, one of the MMCs, he is straight, so we get to see him kind of wrestle with his sexual identity in this present life because he goes through a sexual awakening in this present life as he falls in love with his gay soulmate in the the present life. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was so good. It is devastating though, so definitely pick up those tissues. It was phenomenal. I loved every bit of this. The layout was fantastic, the pacing perfection. I started listening to this book. I had to stop the audiobook, I think in like chapter 3 or 4, because I was like, I need to stop this because I absolutely want to read this book physically. I had to because I needed to read this with my eyeballs. I had to. I couldn't listen. I needed to read it. And I'm so glad I did because it was so good. I gave this book, obviously, 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. Next up, I have Beautiful Things by Emily Rath. Now, this book follows a girl who is going to the Duchess's place and is kind of just helping the Duchess as the Duchess is preparing her son to marry. He's gathered some eligible ladies and he has to pick a wife because the Duchess is not playing any games. She's like, you need to pick. But while she is there, she meets a couple of friends. And she's already settled. She's like, I do not want a husband. I'm perfectly fine with just being me, myself, and I. But her heart has chosen differently, and she finds herself falling in love with a couple of fellas. So that is the plot of the book. It is a Regency reverse harem, so obviously she has more than one love interest, and yeah, it's good to a point. I I think Regency romance may not be for me. And I say that loving Bridgerton. I think I'm more of a watcher of Regency romance than a reader of Regency romance because there's just not a lot happening in a Regency romance. There's only so much like gossip you can, read about than, anything else. It gets a little tiresome after a while. There's not a lot you can do in a Regency romance. There's not a lot of tension. That I just in this book is she's not thin. She's kind of thick. Yeah, there's not a lot of action. And I need action. The scandal is not scandaling, it's not as scandalous as a regular contemporary romance. It's like, oh no, she's 27 and she still hasn't married. That's not very scandalous to me. She's a spinster. It's not really scandalous to me. Like, oh no, she had sex before marriage. So that's what we got here. Although this is a little spicier than your average Regency romance. So yeah, it just isn't really my taste of romance, and I think I've discovered that with this book. But I'm still willing to give it a good old try. I have moved on to the second book, and hopefully maybe I'll enjoy that one a little bit more. But I gave this book 3.75 stars because, again, I don't think this one was for me, but I'm still willing to give it a shot. I'm gonna go 3 tries, and then if it's still not for me, I think I'm done. I'm waving the white flag for me. And the 3 tries are gonna be this one and the other 2 in this series, and it's gonna be a no-go for me after these other 2. So yeah, but 3.75. If you like Regency romance, this might be for you. Next up, I have Not Your Pucking Girl by Sheridan Ann. This one follows a girl who is assigned to do like PR with her roommate for the hockey team. The hockey team has not been doing great, so they're doing PR and promotion and stuff like that for the hockey team for, like I said, a class. And she gets really close with the captain, and the captain is very, very persistent in dating her. Yeah, and that is essentially the plot. My biggest issue with this book is that everything moves at the speed of light. Everything gets wrapped up like that. So all of the problems, the issues, the big events happen like that. So it doesn't really allow for any tension between the characters. It doesn't allow for any like big connections. I don't really feel chemistry between the characters. Not only that, there are like some like hefty, intense events that happen for the FMC specifically, and those problematic issues get wrapped up so fast. And I couldn't enjoy anything. I couldn't feel bad for the characters because, like, again, I don't feel connected to any of the characters. I don't care to learn any more about the characters because there's like spin-offs for the other characters. I don't really care for them. So yeah, I didn't really like this book very much. The one thing it had for it is that the pacing was impeccable because everything was go, 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 go. And I was like, all right, we're moving pretty quickly through this book. So that's the one thing it had for it. Yeah. So I was never bored, which I love that. But again, I couldn't connect with anything because everything was happening so fast. So yeah, I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I think that's being real generous. But it's because it kept my attention. It kept my attention, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's like, at what cost, you know? So I guess take that with a grain of salt. I won't be continuing with the series, so you lost me there. So there's that. Last but certainly not least, I read Die For Me by Shirlene Obuwabi. I think I'm saying that correctly. I hope I'm saying it correctly. I got this as an ARC, and let me tell you, I was actually going through like new releases that were coming out, and I saw this beautiful cover, and I was so blown away. I was blown away by this beautiful cover that I was like, you know what? I need to read that. I don't even know what it's about, but I need to read it. And so I've requested this ARC on NetGalley, and I amazingly got approved for it like a couple days later. And I was like, this is wonderful. It's Kismet. And I read it, and it was amazing. So I can't really talk about much since it's not released yet. It comes out on the 14th of July. But essentially, the story, the plot line of it is a woman who meets, she's an older woman, she's a cardiologist. She meets a younger man at like a wedding. I think that's fine to say. She meets a younger man at a wedding. And she starts a relationship with this man. And as she starts this relationship, you know, things are great. But odd things are happening, and you know, she starts questioning some things, and yeah, just weird things start happening. And things start getting intense. And oh my gosh, was it so good? I could not put it down. I ate it up. It was such a unique book. I literally could not. It was just so good. I knew it was going to be good from the cover, and I was right. I was right. Oh, yeah, it was just intoxicating. I could not put it down. I literally can't say much. If you want more of my review, I have like a written review on my Fable account, but definitely go pick it up. It definitely was worth the read. It's worth a read. Like I said, it's a unique story. I haven't read literally anything like it before, and in this day and age, it's really hard to say. So definitely go pick it up. I gave it 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. So good. Anyways, let's get to my, what am I getting to? Oh yeah, the totals. The totals of what I read. My gosh. The stats. The stats. Let's get to the stats. All right, so stats time. I read 1 physical book, 9 e-reader books, and 7 audiobooks, which brings me to a total of 17 books this month, which is wild. I can't believe I read 17 books this month. I am honestly impressed with myself. At a certain point, I think I thought I was only going to read like 13 books, but I persevered. I was pushing it to ultimate capacity. I was worried, but I pushed through. I pushed through. I did. Because I was looking at my Fable and I was like, man, I killed it last month with 20 books. I really need to push it because I'm behind. Like I said, I'm behind on my reading goals and I need to lock in. And I did. I locked in and I got to 17. And next month I will be reading a book a day for 21 days, hopefully. Hopefully. So we'll see. Anyways, let's get on to my most loved book for the month of June. Okay, so the book that I absolutely adored in the month of June is Don't Let Me Go by Kevin Christopher Snipes, and I can even forgive the fact that I cried reading that book. It was so good, and yeah, I still think about it. So it's fine. I'm gonna have to let it go, even though it says don't let me go. I'm gonna have to let it go, but it was so good. And my most anticipated read for the month of July is actually going to be Direbound. I'm actually really excited to get into this book. Everyone has been talking about it, and I'm finally going to read this book. I promised myself it is going to happen in July, so I'm really excited to finally dive into this book. All right, guys, we've come to the end of the monthly wrap up for June. I know, it is sad to be done, but all good things must come to an end, and we've come to this end. So let me know what your favorite book of the month of June was and your most anticipated read for the month of July. And that is it, guys. Until next time, read on, my bookish friends.